Hey everybody, it is me, Vincent, and welcome back to Universal Orlando, and we're celebrating spring break! Woo! In today's video, I want to share with you guys some advice that I've gathered over the years on how to best enjoy your spring break here at Universal. You're probably wondering, what are your sources? What are your qualifications to give us spring break advice? Just trust me, bro. Things that I think you should definitely think about if you're coming here during this time of year, one of the busiest times of year. Some of this may be conventional wisdom, some of this are personal preferences of mine and the best way to enjoy Universal. So I hope this video helps, I hope you like it. Let's get started. So for my first bit of advice, I'm gonna actually ask you guys to consider two different things for your Universal trip. And that is to think about staying on site at a Universal hotel and or buying express for your trip. Out of the two, I would especially recommend trying to stay on site. Now, I know there's a lot of different reasons as to why you might not be able to stay on site, whether it be financial reasons, planning reasons, there's a whole lot. But I do find that Universal has a very wide variety of hotels, various tiers. If you're looking for a deluxe experience like the Hard Rock Hotel or the Royal Pacific, or a value experience like Dockside and Surfside. All of these hotels have different amenities and benefits, but I think overall, staying at one of the Universal hotels is going to offer you a much better experience here at the parks. And that is for a couple reasons. The first is that all Universal hotels come with early park admission. So if you're staying at a Universal hotel, you get to go into the parks an hour early, which is very, very important during spring break. You want to get in there as early as possible. The hour head start is super helpful during spring break because it's going to let you go straight to the rides that you're interested in, which is mostly the Harry Potter rides during early park admission. All of the Universal hotels offer early park admission, all the way down from the value hotels to the premier hotels. But if you are looking to sort of plus up your trip and making it extra special, try to get a spot at one of the premier hotels. The big three are Hard Rock, Royal Pacific, Portofino Bay. Those are really nice hotels overall, but they have the added big benefit of coming with unlimited express for the length of your stay. So your room key at those hotels doubles as an express pass, which can save you a lot of money out in the parks, can save you a lot of time. You're also very close to Universal, regardless of which hotel you stay at. Some hotels have boats that drop you off right in front of the parks. Others have buses that are constantly going throughout the day to take you to and from your hotel. This is going to save you a lot of time and aggravation trying to park at the parking garage during spring break, go through security, all that kind of stuff. It's nice to be able to just take a boat and be right in front of Universal Studios Florida. The other thing I'd say to consider is to think about buying Universal Express for your trip. Now, this one is maybe not as high as a priority to me as staying at the hotels. I think the hotels are fantastic. I will agree 100% that having Universal Express is going to make your day easier, full stop. But it can be pretty expensive. In fact, there are some days it can cost even more than a regular ticket to get into the park. Like for example, today, on the day of recording this in the middle of March, Express goes for $250. And mind you, that's like the top tier Express. That's unlimited Express for both parks. But wow, that's a lot. And especially if you have a large family, I totally get why you don't want to drop, $250 on 10 people. But if you have a smaller group, or it's maybe just you and one other person, and if you think you can spring for it, Express does help a lot. Especially now, since it works on more rides than ever. For almost 2 years, the Velocicoaster did not take Universal Express. It does now. So now the only ride in the park that doesn't take Express is Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure, and I guess technically Tyrannon Flyers if you want to count that, but not most people aren't going to be able to go on that. However, you can get it. There are all different types as well. You can get it just for one park. You can get it where you can only use it once at each of the rides. If you're staying at the premier hotels, you get Express, which is, like I said, a huge help. Those are two big things that I would consider when you're booking your trip, when you're planning your trip, when you're budgeting for your trip. Try to stay on site and think about Express. This next little bit of info might be a little controversial. This might not be the most obvious way for a lot of people to do the parks, but I think if you are visiting Universal Orlando and you are choosing to rope drop a park and start your day I think you should start at Universal Studios Florida. The thing with Universal Studios Florida versus Islands of Adventure is there's not really any new rides in this park. Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure is over there at Islands of Adventure, as is the Velocicoaster, which are two extremely popular attractions, which, as you guessed, when people start their day and they rope drop and they run into the parks, those are the first two rides they're going to go to. What you can do instead is go over to Universal Studios Florida and have a park that's basically empty in the morning. And I mean, like, you're gonna go to Universal Studios Florida at some point during your trip, right? So why don't you use this time while the park is empty to knock out some rides so you can spend more time at Islands of Adventure later in the day? Like, if you go straight to Diagon Alley in the morning and go on to Gringotts, you're gonna have like a 15-minute wait, maybe. Like, Transformers usually has a really, really long wait in the middle of the day. If you get to the park right when it opens and go straight to Transformers, it's gonna have like a 5-minute wait. You're gonna walk right on, and now you have a really popular ride checked off your list. And even if you're someone who's like super interested in Harry Potter and you're like, oh, I wanna ride Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure immediately, as soon as possible, I would still recommend starting your day off in Diagon Alley. Do it the way Harry Potter does it in the books and the movies. Start in Diagon Alley, go to Gringotts. I would hold off on getting a wand in the morning because it does get very popular. You can do that later in the day and it's going to have a much shorter line. And then when you ride the train in the morning, especially in the morning, there's like no wait. You can hit up that train at like 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, and you will not be waiting at all. It is fantastic. And now you've done the train. Guess what? Check it off your list. You're doing great. You got Gringotts, you got the train, and now you're over at Islands of Adventure at a pretty early time of day, and I guess you can wait in line with Hagrid's. Right now, I wish I had like a technique for how to get onto Hagrid's without having to wait. Hagrid's is kind of a crapshoot all the time. It is the most popular ride here at the park. It doesn't take express, so you're gonna be waiting a good chunk of time, no matter how you do it. Unless you're like one of the first 100 people at Islands of Adventure for when they open the park for early park admission, you're still going to probably wait a good chunk of time for Hagrid's. So I wouldn't worry about Hagrid's. Just try to do that during like maybe lunchtime or so when people are going and having food. That's probably going to be your like best chance to ride Hagrid's, honestly. Velocicoaster is maybe something that if you had to start at Islands of Adventure, I'd probably go first to because it does get a really, really long line now. But if you're not like super adamant about starting at Islands of Adventure, I think going to Universal Studios and knocking out stuff like The Mummy, Transformers, Gringotts, things that are going to get much longer wait times later in the day, you can knock those out really early and not have to wait very long at all. There are a lot of different ways to eat here at the parks depending on how you want to tackle your day. My recommended way to go about it is to plan ahead and get a reservation at one of these sit-down restaurants here at Universal. There are a ton to pick from, and if you plan ahead, they can be pretty easy to get. Now I know what you're thinking, oh man, I don't want to sit down at a sit-down restaurant while I'm here at Universal. That's like cutting into my ride time. And yeah, that's true, but if you have a successful first half of the day and you get a lot of rides done, maybe you deserve an hour break sitting down, which you will get because you booked a reservation ahead of time at one of the restaurants and you're not having to wait an hour in line at a quick service spot to order your food and then sit down and get your food. As far as sit-down restaurants go, I would totally recommend Finnegan's on the Universal Studios Florida side. It's great, they're really fast, they've got some really hearty, tasty Irish-American food. And over at the other side, Mythos. Mythos restaurant is just way too good. It's Islands of Adventure's signature restaurant. It's a really, really popular spot. It's the #1 theme park restaurant in the world, voted by Theme Park Insider. There are some quick service options that can work out well for you, but the ones that I would maybe avoid, and I know I'm gonna get some flack for this, but I would personally avoid the Harry Potter restaurants and the Simpsons area in particular during lunchtime, that like 12 to 1 o'clock time. Those places are a hot mess and you're gonna be waiting a really, really long time, especially the Simpsons area. I know you see the Krusty Burger, I know you think it's gonna be super, super cool, but it really is just like a regular restaurant. The Krusty Burger's fine. The Harry Potter restaurants, Leaky Cauldron and Three Broomsticks, are actually really great quick service restaurants. I enjoy the food quite a lot, but they are very, very busy all the time, especially the Three Broomsticks. Leaky Cauldron, you can kind of get lucky and do that later in the day, like if you were gonna do dinner or something like that, I think you'd have a much easier time. But Three Broomsticks, go ahead and just forget about it. You'll be happy you did. You'll be happy you didn't have to waste time waiting in line for food there. I also find that snacking around the park can help a lot, especially if you're a family that just wants to go and doesn't really want to like sit down for food. If you're visiting during spring break, you're actually visiting at a pretty great time where Universal's Mardi Gras is happening all the way until the middle of April. And there are food booths from all around the world scattered around. In fact, today I'm doing kind of a little bit of snacking around myself. Actually got some food at one of the Mardi Gras food booths. I've also gotten myself a nice, tasty Duff light beer here in Springfield. Springfield is a really great spot for grab-and-go food. You know, there is the Krusty Burger and Fast Food Boulevard, which can get a really long line, but you can also get a donut at Lard Lad. You can get the tacos at the taco truck, or you can go to Duff Gardens and get a beer like me, and they also have corn dogs and pretzels. So if you're looking for something like that, or you have kids who are only really going to eat like a corn dog or a pretzel, and they're not looking for anything too exotic from the Mardi Gras booths, that's an option as well. Be on the lookout for quick food all around. There are really, really great options, especially on the Universal Studios Florida side. Another tip, and this is a big one, is that you need to find a way to travel as light as you possibly can at the theme park. Now, I know sometimes, especially if you're traveling with a big family, that might be hard to do. But if you can find a way to consolidate everything you need in like one backpack, or even better, like multiple little small fanny packs and crossovers, you're gonna have a much easier day here at the parks. You're gonna be able to move around more, you're gonna be a lot more mobile, and most importantly, you're not gonna be held up in every single locker station at the rides. Universal has a lot of rides here that require lockers, and sometimes, especially during spring break, trying to get a locker at some of these rides can just be a whole nother level of frustration to your trip here. And you don't want that. You don't want that, right? You just want to see a ride and go, hey, I want to ride that ride. Go inside the building. Boom. You can do that with a fanny pack on most rides, with the exception of the big roller coasters. And if you only have one bag, only one person needs to go into the locker and put that in. Bingo, bango, bongo. In and out, super easy. You also got to dress right for the occasion, okay? You are at a theme park. You are not at the Met Gala. Dress comfy, okay? But still look good. Do not wear Mickey gear to the park. No Disney merchandise, period. I've got my cool Vicious 6 t-shirt I actually got from Universal Studios Hollywood. It's a reference to the Minions. I've got my walking and running shoes from the brand Brooks. This is a really great shoe, super comfy. I use it in the theme parks all the time. I definitely don't think you should be skimping on footwear. You should be spending some good money on some good shoes for the parks and in your general day-to-day life. I would highly recommend a hat. You gotta wear sunscreen, okay? Even if you don't wear sunscreen where you're from, you gotta wear sunscreen here in Florida. I know some of you guys look forward to coming to Florida so you can get a tan. You still need sunscreen, okay? Definitely wear some. And stay hydrated, okay? I actually have a video on the best ways to stay hydrated at the parks. You gotta be drinking water while you're here. You gotta stay cooled down. You gotta stay refreshed, because it can get pretty hot and toasty during the spring break season here. So please check that video out if you haven't already. Those are some useful tips on how to stay hydrated here in the parks. And those, my friends, are my tips to best maximize and enjoy your time here at Universal if you're visiting during spring break. And honestly, these are kind of like, in general, tips that you can use at all times of the year. But during this time of year, one of the busiest times of year here at Universal, I think it's gonna be pretty darn helpful. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you have any tips and advice? What do you think about my advice? I think it's pretty great. I mean, look, the Hulk roller coaster's behind me here. Look at that, the roller coaster. Why am I saying that wrong? Hulk roller coaster. Anyway, thank you guys for watching another Vincent Vision. I hope you had fun having fun with me. Be on the lookout for some more videos. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. I love answering them to the best of my ability. If you're going to Universal this spring break, I think you're gonna have a great time, whether or not you use my tips to your advantage. Okay, maybe not as good of a time if you don't use my tips. You should definitely, hopefully you watched this video and got some good info off of it. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.